Hello all, warm welcome to all of you at SNEA STG Storage Conference. I am Kannadasan from Msys Technologies. I have 13 plus years of rich experience in storage domain, and I like to share few information about Msys Technologies. Msys Technologies specializes in product engineering services and digital transformation. And we works with lot of top storage companies and top companies across the globe like Amazon, Google, and many other. And also MSys received lot of awards like Red Herring 100, IE20. And MSys is one of the top fastest growing storage companies for 2 consecutive years. And we have offices at different locations spread across the world. Let's go to see my presentation for today. We all know we can able to store the data in HDD, SSD and tape drive. Do we have any other medium to store the data? Or any of you know about how we can store the data in glass? Yes, what you heard is right, glass. We can able to store and retrieve the data by using Quartz Glass. And this is what I am going to cover in our today's session. And the presentation of my topic is AI and ML for archival storage in Quartz Glass. Let's see our agenda of this session. First, we are going to see about how we are storing the data in HDD, SSD, tape drive, and to see details about this pros and cons of all these options. Then we are going to see about what is archival storage and why we are preferring tape drive for archival storage. And the next one is the data storage in Quartz Glass. Why we are using Quartz Glass and what is the pros and cons and how we are storing the data, how we are writing and reading the data by using AI and ML in the Quartz Glass. And finally, we are going to see about the future of archival storage. Yeah, as I already mentioned, we have a various options to store the data like HDD, SSD, and tape drive. And we all know HDD is the hard disk drive and it contains moving parts and we can read and write it to access the data. And SSD is the solid state drive and do not have any moving parts here. We can store the data instantly by using accessible memory chips. And tape drive is a data storage device that reads and writes data on the magnetic tape. As we see the different types of data storage options, HDD, SSD, tape drive, how we can select which drive we use to store the data. It based on the requirement, cost, speed. We will use the HDD, SSD and tape drives. Broadly, it classified based on the data like hot data, warm data and cold data. Hot data is any data which frequently access is called as a hot data, and we prefer to use SSD for hot data. And warm data, any data which we access frequently but not very frequently, that we call it as a warm data, and we prefers to use HDD for that. And the cold data, the data which we access very rarely, but we need the data for future purpose. That is we call as a cold data, and we prefer to use tape drives for cold data. See, as we all know, now data plays very important role in all our life. So every year we are generating more number of data. As years goes on increasing, we are generating a lot of data. With this rate, really, we do not have any proper solution to store all kind of data with less cost and high performance. Just here we can just comparing the different drives based on the data temperature. Just now we see it for hard drives we are using the SSD, and if you see the cost is more, and same for the performance HDD, and compared to SSD the cost is less, and the same for capacity HDD. And for cold data we are using tape drives. But in the case of SSD, we can access the data very fast. But in the case of tape drive, just you see, it will take hours to access our data. So the latency is more in case of tape drive. Suppose if we store any data in the tape drive, and the data is stored at the end of the tape drive, we all know tape drive is the sequential access. So it takes more time to retrieve our data. Okay, now we will see more details about archival storage. Okay, data archiving is the process of moving data that is no longer actively used to a separate storage device for long-term retention. As I already told, the data which we access rarely, but we need those data for future purpose. Those we call it as archive data. So archive data consists of older data that remains important to the organization or must be retained for future reference. The need of archival storage is to keep the data safe and secure and pass the information to future generations. Because of the low cost and long archival stability, so far tape drive is the best option for archival storage. As I already mentioned, the data that need to be stored for long term is growing exponentially, and the technologies and options so far we have all have a limited lifetime. And also, as the tape drive is the best option, so far we are using it for the archival storage, but it is a sequential access storage and it has the high latency. And also for archival storage that we are using the tape drive, the regular data migration is needed here, and that results high cost as the year goes on, because the lifetime of the tape drive is around 5 to 7 years, Because of that, long-term storage costs are driven up by the need to repeatedly transfer the data onto the new media before the information is lost. Here we can see the long-term storage demand keep on increasing as the year goes. And we are using the tape drive to store the data. As I already mentioned, because of the lifespan, after a certain period of time, we need to migrate the data to the new medium to keep the data without any loss. So as the year keep on growing, we need to store more amount of data and our cost also keep on increasing. As I already told, the magnetic tape lasts only 5 to 7 years, and generally companies proactively migrates the content every 3 years to stay ahead of the degradation issues. Tape drive stores the data for a long time, but still can't guarantee the data's safety over extended period. Because of this, archival storage is really a big concern as the amount of data in the world grows. Then, what is the solution to overcome this problem? How to keep our data safely and securely and over long period of time? The solution is Quartz Glass. That is the new medium for data storage. Now, let's see more details about quartz glass, why we are preferring quartz glass, and how we are going to storing the data in quartz glass. Okay, why we are using quartz glass? The lifetime of quartz glass is greater than 1,000 years, and it is very low cost. It is readily available all over the world, and it is resilient, durable, and right once media. This is the image of the quartz glass. The quartz is the most common form of crystalline silicon, and it is the second most common mineral on the Earth's surface. So it is readily available all over the world, and the cost is low. And quartz glass can able to withstand extreme environmental conditions and doesn't need any special conditions like energy intensive air conditioning. It doesn't require any special. We can simply keep it and we can use it for lifelong. And we already see right in the tape drive, we can able to access the data sequentially. But it's not in the case of quartz glass, so we can able to retrieve the data. It's very fast manner. And also here we are writing data in the glass, not on the glass. Why I am specifically saying this is if we write on the glass, there is a possibility of damaging the data by scratching the glass or any other ways. But here we are writing the data in the glass, so even though whatever scratch or any accidental it got fallen down, still we can able to retrieve the data. So basically it is a permanent storage. So that we call it as a worm. It means write once and read many. As I already told, right, the quartz glass will not deteriorate, which is one of its best qualities for this application. And it can retain its stored data even after being submerged in boiling water, put in a flame, scratched with steel wool, shaken or microwave. It means that whatever happens to quartz glass, still we can able to retrieve the data. This is a very big advantage for us when compared to all other kind of hard disk SSD tape drives where we need to specifically maintain all those to retrieve our data. It needs special environment, special maintenance for a long period of time to retrieve our data. And here, data will still be there even thousands of years. And one more thing is the tape and hard disk were designed long time back. That means before the cloud existed. So basically, we need to build one storage medium specifically for cloud. And the tape and hard disk have the limitations around temperature, humidity, air quality, and the lifespan. This is not in the case of quartz glass. Now we can see how we are storing data in quartz glass. By using ultrafast laser optics and artificial intelligence, we are storing data in quartz glass. How? By pausing the femtosecond lasers. It is the one that emit ultra-short optical pulses and that are commonly used in LASIK surgery. It permanently changes the structure of the glass so the data can be preserved for centuries. A laser encodes data in glass by creating layers of three-dimensional nanoscale gratings and deformations at various depths and angles. So once we write the data by using machine learning algorithms, we can able to read the data back by decoding the images and patterns. A voxel is a unit of graphic information that defines a point in three-dimensional space. We all know the pixel. The pixel defines a point in two-dimensional space with its x and y coordinates. So a third z coordinate is needed. In 3D space, each of the coordinates is defined in terms of its position, color, and density. A femtosecond laser is fired inside the glass. It uses multiple pulses to form a voxel. And each voxel can store multiple bits and data depends upon the size and orientation of the voxel. Many layers of voxels are stored on a piece of glass. So the infrared lasers encode data in voxels, the three-dimensional equivalent of pixels that make up a flat image, and in 2 millimeter thick piece of glass contains more than 100 layers of voxels. And the data is encoded in each voxel by changing the strength and orientation of intense laser pulses that physically deform the glass. Okay. So far, we discussed about how we are storing the data by using femtosecond lasers. Now, I am going to show the pictorial representation of so far what we discussed. So if you see here, we are placing the silicon glass and passing the femtosecond lasers to the silicon glass. So after that, it creates the voxels in the quartz glass, and we already see that the voxel is created in multiple layers inside the quartz glass to store the data. And this is how we are printing the data in the glass. So once we store the data in the glass, we can able to see it through our physical eye. Let's see how it gets printed in the quartz glass. See, this is the pictorial representation of the data stored in quartz glass. So far, we see about how we store the data in the quartz glass. Now we store the data. Now how we are able to read those data from the quartz glass. Let's see how we are going to do that. So to read the data from quartz glass, we are using a special device. A computer controlled microscope is used to read the data. The data which we stored in the glass, we need to place that glass in the read head. To begin with, it focuses on the layer of interest and a set of polarization images are taken. Then these images are then processed to determine the orientation and size of the voxels. The process is then repeated for other layers, and all these images are fused using machine learning. To read the data back, machine learning algorithm decode the patterns created when polarized light shines through the glass. And the machine learning algorithms can quickly zero in on any point within the glass square, thus potentially reducing lag time to retrieve information. Now we can see the pictorial representation how we are reading the data from quartz glass. So here we are placing the glass in the computer controlled microscopic device. As I already told, it read the voxels of the multiple layers. We all know we store the data by using voxels in the multiple layer. In the same way, it reads the data in all the layers in the voxel. Here, this represents the multiple layers of the voxels. After it reads all the voxels across the multiple layers, then finally we can able to retrieve the original data. Okay, so far we see about how we can store the data in HDD, SSD and tape drive, why we are preferring tape drive and what are the disadvantages of the tape drive, and Then we saw why we are using Quartz Glass and how we are storing the data in the Quartz Glass. Now let's see what is the future of archival storage in Quartz Glass. As I already told, right, as the years goes on, the data we are producing is also keep on growing. So really we need a permanent solution to solve this problem, and for that Quartz Glass is the best option. We all know the media industries keep on growing, and the data storing by using Quartz Glass is really a boom for the media industry. We all know media industry is mainly warm. That means write once and read many. Just you imagine one permanent copy of movie can exist in a warehouse for 100 years for everyone who wants to stream it on Netflix. This really reduces the storage cost, maintenance cost, and even unforeseen cost of having to move a file from one area of server farm to another. And maybe they will reduce the subscription fee also, that really benefits us. And also we can store the lifelong medical data, financial regulation data, and all kind of information. So basically here we are not passing only the data, we are passing the entire information to the future generations by using Quartz Glass. So at present, we are able to store a 360 terabyte of data in a piece of glass. And a lot of research are going on to maximize the performance and minimize the cost. If this storage solution proves to be as cost effective and scalable, then the data storage using Quartz Glass will be the best archival storage solution for big companies looking to store large amounts of data. I think right now there is a lot of research and many companies are working on this project. And as I already mentioned, right now we are able to store a 360 terabytes of data. So soon we are not sure, maybe we can store more amount of data than this, and also they can able to improve the read and write performance as well. So as I mentioned here, really if you achieve the better performance and minimize the cost, really it will be the revolutionary in the storage medium. I hope soon all the research will be success, and maybe after some years data storage in Quartz Glass maybe rule the entire storage industry. So with this note, I am completing my presentation. Just I want to share information about me. I am Kannadasan Palani with around 13 plus years of experience in QA, and I have worked on various storage products, and I have excellent hands-on in AWS and Azure cloud storage testing with good exposure on AI and ML. And also I am a certified Scrum Master with excellent people management skill, and have been managing big team on multiple projects. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask me. I am very much happy to address all your queries. And also, please take a moment to rate this session. Your feedback really matters to us. I'm thanking you, everyone who are participating in this storage conference session and watched this presentation. And I like to say special thanks to Sneha for providing me this wonderful opportunity to share my presentation. Thanks again to everyone.